the Yakima Valley and also in Oregon was it was really interesting. It was very parallel to what was going on in California, but at a much smaller scale. And in the summer of the lettuce boycott, there's a great interview with Lupe Gamboa. There was a renegade strike in the hops in Yakima, and a bunch of workers walked out, and a number of those leaders that I talked about for the student organization were supporting the hop strike. Well, it turned out they contacted the union in California, the United Farmworkers, and they said, wait a minute, we got our hands full down here with this lettuce stuff that's going on. We're not able to support you now. Can you kind of put that to sleep, and then we'll try to develop a relationship with, eventually it became a United Farmworkers office in Yakima. And so from the summer of 70, intermittently to this day, there's been a United Farmworkers office in Yakima, or in the Yakima Valley, Sunnyside, Prosser, that area. Lupe Gamboa, Fred Ross Jr. was there for a while, and Robert Trevino had staffed that office. And similarly, Oregon in the Willamette Valley had a farmworker office. They had, in 1971, they had a very regressive anti-farmworker piece of legislation where we all organized big rallies down there with farmworkers and supporters, and Governor Tom McCall eventually vetoed the legislation. And we had a massive 24-hour-a-day sit-in at the state capitol vigil for 7 days until he finally vetoed the legislation. So we were in a support role and trying to educate and organize people, but we were paying attention to what was happening in both Olympia and Salem. In the Yakima Valley, they had a United Farmworkers Clinic, and they had a credit union, so they tried to put the service center kind of work into the valley. And there was also already a strong base with Tomas Villanueva with child care and some other, and Radio Cadena there. So that all kind of merged together and was a base of farm worker support. It didn't end up being, with the exception of, I believe, one, I think it was in Walla Walla, there weren't labor contracts that ended up out of it, but there was a strong base of support with services. And then many of the workers would be union members and have relationships and family members and even migrate through from California. So there was a good base of support. And we just, again, we would do support. We do, we go out and do work parties at La Escuelita, or, and it was, in my view, it was more a way of taking like high school kids and giving them an experience in the valley that would help support what they were doing the Safeway picket lines, and they wanted to do more, and they wanted to be a little closer. So it was more as an extension of the educational work that we were doing with students and supporters in Seattle. I'm not sure the benefit was that great for, folks who are in the valley, but it was a way we could do service.